We have Amir Fkhrar. He is the Senate Chairman for National Iranian Congress. And Ruthie Bloom is a former advisor to the Office of Netanyahu and senior contributor editor at JNS and co-host of the Israel Undiplomatic. Good morning to both of you and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Amir, what is the holdup with this peace deal? Can you give us any insight from your perspective?
Thank you for having me. You know, anytime I'm hearing the peace deal, I'm getting confused. What peace deal we are talking about it? Some people, they are negotiating with each other right now in Qatar, in some other places, and none of those people who are negotiating are the real people, because I couldn't see anybody from the Islamic regime of Iran, the actual player. Because Iranian regime is the puppet master for Hamas, for Hezbollah, for all the terrorist groups. And when Iranian mullahs, they are not there. IRGC is not there. Even Hamas says, I don't care. And who is negotiating with who, with what type of deal? I guess Antony Blinken wanted to have some fun in some five-star hotels. Yeah, they can go in their last months in office and have fun there. But it's not any real negotiation. We are dealing with the Islamic regime of Iran, which from day one, they said death to Israel, death to America. And they meant it, because then they went to kill Americans and Israelis. And October 7th was totally orchestrated by the Islamic regime of Iran. And they are not at the negotiation table. And Biden-Harris administration gave them just 5 months after October 7th. In March 2024, Biden-Harris administration gave Iranian regime $10 billion for what? As a reward for killing Israelis? It's nonsense deal.
Yeah, and it's outrageous. It's beyond that to see all of the protests that are going on and how they are blaming Israel for what is happening. Ruthie, let me ask you this in regards to the Biden administration. Is this going to be a black eye or then some with Biden's legacy?
Well, you know, I would have hoped that Biden's legacy would be a victory in the war against Hamas and against Iran. But as Amir pointed out, the Biden administration has been appeasing Iran. Furthermore, as he also pointed out, to even use the word peace in relation to what has been going on in the last several months, like a peace deal. There's no peace. At the moment, we're at the height of a terrible war that Israel did not want, did not ask for, did not initiate, but one that Israel has to win. And the protesters, let's put it this way. There are protesters who are pro-Hamas in America, and there are protesters in Israel who are merely anti-Netanyahu. But what they have in common is they're playing right into the hands of Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas in Gaza, who even his express goal, his express PR goal, was to use the hostages as leverage, not in order just to receive prisoners, and it has nothing to do with the Philadelphia corridor. It has to do with getting Israel out of Gaza totally, getting every last soldier out of there, and remaining in power. The Philadelphia corridor is crucial for us because that is the place through which all the cement and every other weapon went through from Egypt into Gaza in order to build those massive tunnels. So obviously we can't just relinquish control, but that isn't really what Sinwar cares about. I mean, the Philadelphia corridor. He cares about the whole thing, and he hasn't even offered to return all the hostages. He's very vague about which ones and how many are alive. And so there's no deal on the table.
No, that's a great point. And Amir, going back to you, you mentioned Iran's role in all of this. I did a little research, and I think the oil revenue to Iran under Biden is something like $100 billion, and then another $10 billion from, I think, South Korea, and $10 billion from Iraq, I think, to pay for, loans or whatever. But how much is this money affecting what's going on there, and how can the United States played both sides under Biden. On one hand, he supports Israel sometimes. On the other hand, he's funding terror. Can you enlighten us on your perspective?
Let me tell you a little bit about my background. I was in Iran in prison for more than 5 years as a student activist, as an author. And I was for 8 months under torture in solitary confinement. They broke 50 bones in my body. I know Iranian regime very well. In 2006, when I came to the United States, I was surprised. The first testimony at the US Senate, I said, why you are giving them money? Because Iranian regime, Iran is a rich country, but the people are poor because the government, the small group of fanatic mullahs who came to power with the help of Russia in 1979, it was a Russian-backed coup in Iran. Everybody called it Islamic Revolution. When they came to power, they just used all the money Iran has to just make some proxies, the terrorist groups all around the Middle East. And their next target is United States. They're working in South America very hard to build up the terror group, and probably they sent hundreds of them inside United States with the open border of Obama, Biden, Harris administrations. But, then it was a big question for me in 2015 during Obama-Biden administration, when it was negotiation. I said, Iranian mullahs, they don't want to negotiate with great Satan in their view, United States. Why they are at the table? I was searching to find why Iranian people are at the nuclear negotiation table. And you know what? I found something very interesting. You heard a lot about $150 billion Obama gave to Iranian mullahs, but you don't know where this amount came to the media. It was me. In one of articles for Real Clear Politics, I mentioned in March 2015, OMG, it's $150 billion secretly Obama is going to give to Iranian leaders, the Islamic leader of Iran, to come to the table. Yeah. And Iran, yes, that was true. And everybody have been talking after that about that $150 billion. And because of that, President Trump came out of that disastrous nuclear deal. You know what? Iran used that money to pay and to build back better all the terrorist groups, as the slogan of Biden was that, Biden-Harris. And you know what? This did to give the terrorist regime, the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, billions of dollars. Yeah, it means chaos in the world, nothing else.
No good can come from that.
And I hate to cut you off, and we only have a few minutes left, and I wanted to get to Ruthie in regards to the protests that we are seeing in Israel, but also the anti-Israel protests that we're seeing here, especially on college campuses. Can you just talk about that?
Yes, well, I can say that Sinwar is very pleased with himself because his entire plan is working. Because not only did he and his goons commit the worst atrocities against Jews since the Holocaust on October 7th, but he understood, he understands the Israeli mentality, and clearly the American one as well. We have similar mentalities in the sense that we're liberal democracies. And his plan was, okay, it's bad enough. All right, we committed all these atrocities. We slaughtered people. We kidnapped people. Now the goal is to change the narrative, invert victim and perpetrator, and put pressure on the victims. And he was successful. The protesters in New York and Washington and all over America, many of them are merely ignorant. They don't know. When they scream from the river to the sea and they're asked which river, which sea, they don't even know how to answer it. But the leaders of those protests and Iran that is funding them, they know very well what they're doing. And in Israel, I must say, tragically, the real hostile protesters have piggybacked on the devastated families of the hostages and created this momentum, which says, if we only let Sinwar have the Philadelphia corridor, we'll get the hostages back. It's a myth, it's false, and it is doing a terrible thing to those poor families who, of course, in their shoes, we would want to do anything to get our loved ones back as well.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate both of you coming on this morning. Amir Fakhrآور and Ruthie Bloom, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.